Ripper, I'm gonna break your heart. I'm sorry, so don't hate me forever. But it was a no from me, dog, because not a single person from Boston calls Boston Beantown. Like if you don't believe me, okay, here it is. So I used to work with this guy when I worked at Boston in the uprising. He was our socials guy. He was awesome, dude. He was literally just one of the hardest working people I ever met. But basically, just heard a guy say to me at record store day, pronounce the Boston suburb as Worcester, and I cringed. So at least I learned something from y'all in New England. And I said, Boston suburb? Well, at least you learned something. And he was like, okay, not a suburb, the strictest sense true. I don't need you to pull me aside and whip out the map again. So basically, chat, we had this problem, okay? He was from Ohio. He was from Ohio, and I grew up here, okay? And we put out like a tweet, or like he was trying to do like a fun tweet, for like engagement and stuff. And basically he tried to come up with a bunch of ways people call Boston Boston and ask people to weigh in. But basically he got ripped apart on Twitter for it, because there's not a single person who's from Boston who calls Boston Beantown. That's like an outside put on us title. And people were like, oh, Boston, you mean Beantown? Huh? No, stop. Nobody says it. So I had to have a conversation with him and explain to him what things were actually stereotypes versus things actually people say and do. Like donkeys, okay? Everybody knows Massachusetts and Boston is like Donkey's heaven. Dude, me and Emong joke about it all the time. If I ever got embarrassed at the Donkeys next to my house, that's okay. I could go 6 steps down and go to the Donkeys next door, right? And so like there was certain things I was like, you're gonna get some people kind of mad if you like, if the Boston team doesn't understand shit like that. And we had this whole thing. The Patriots social media guy was like, oh yeah, you don't do that. Like you don't say that. Like people get mad, And so basically we had this whole thing about it, and that's why I sent him this, because he said pronounced the Boston suburb as Worcester. So Worcester, not Worcester, Worcester is the second largest city in Massachusetts. It's in Western Mass. So that's why I sent him. I was like, I'll get the map, dude. Like don't start with me, because like I had to teach him what Boston was. So how to know somebody's not from here, because it's not a very good traditional city. So Boston is not laid out as Boston. Boston itself is actually named individual sections under one banner. So basically there are parts of Boston like the North End, South Boston, etc. So he was like, oh, that's Boston. And I was like, no, Boston's much bigger than that. And so I had to explain to him. So I basically had to explain to him that Boston's actually this. Now he looked at me like I was crazy, but this is the truth. That's what Boston looks like. So I grew up actually like right here, like literally right here. But realistically, I hung out a lot around here, this area, these 3 areas. But you had like, it's hard to explain that this area doesn't count. Like all this area, like imagine telling somebody that Boston College isn't technically in Boston. If you are not from here, your mind just goes, right, just explodes out of your noggin, dude. Like they just look at you like you're an absolute moron, right? Because Cambridge, right? Cambridge is realistically thought as Boston. And the reason why Cambridge has been kind of like has been grandfathered in is because all the college kids go around here.
How the weather treating you?
I don't know. I don't go outside. Like Harvard, MIT, like there's a lot of schools that's up in this area, but this isn't technically Boston. It just isn't, right? But it's been kind of grandfathered in because everybody who goes to school here is like, yeah, I live in Boston, bro. And it's like, you're from North Cambridge. No, you're not, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like, it's become this weird shit. But basically though, I had to show him that it's like a rectangle that's curved. Also explaining Long Island and explaining all this stuff out here was, he thought also Manhattan and Nantucket or listen, it was a rough week. Okay. Nantucket is a weird place. Nantucket is a very sheltered place, to say the least. If you have enough money, you can do literally whatever you want in Nantucket. Like, I'm not joking. What are they gonna do? Call Nantucket police? That doesn't exist. What are you gonna do? Call the state police and they gotta take a 2-hour ferry over? Yeah, that'll do well. I mean, every single person who lives on the island has already bought property. Like, I can show you one more time if you'd like. But it's literally impossible because every piece of land there has been bought and the only way to get there is by a ferry. And it doesn't have a police department. Or at least it's not real. It's a couple bikers. I mean, not motorcycles, bicycles. It actually sounds nice. I mean, if you have a lot of money, it's a very nice place to go. One of my friends' parents have a place there. And grandparents have a place there, and they go there once a summer. He's going there in like a few weeks, but he was still is very much a trust fund baby and just kind of an idiot. And the reason they go there and have fun is because a Bud Light water is like $13.50. I'm talking not for a couple. I'm talking about one. Like, they make stadium prices look like a joke. I mean, what are you gonna do? Drive one over on the water? I'm sure they have boats. It's a 2-hour-long ferry ride. Do you think you're just gonna hop in your boat and just head over to the mainland, catch an Uber on the least populated part of the state, to the grocery store, to pick up a pack of a 30 rack of Bud Lights, to go back to your boat and drive across? Do you know how much it is to gas a boat? Real talk. At that point, you might as well just pay the price on the island. DoorDash it to what address? Hey, I'm on the road. Here's the road I'm on. About halfway down, there's 3 trees and a beach. If you see a boat, that's me. If you see a parking lot, you've gone too far. In front of a building, and they walk somewhere else. I mean, I don't disagree with that, but there's not an address to use. Like, I hate this like can we just shut up about that? Because like, you're talking about driving a boat 2 hours to a mainland to then call DoorDash, in which there's probably very few DoorDash drivers in that area because it's a low populated area, to then call it to a beach, then get it, and then drive all the way back 2 hours. Like, this is like the worst hypothetical ever.